Welcome, Barflies and Bears fans. Bear football here. I'm filling in for John Buffone, and Tyler Ellis should be joining us in a little while. Danny Shimon is with me right now, and incredibly discouraging loss, a second half by the Chicago Bears, particularly their offense, that looked like they had taken their foot off the accelerator. And what we're left with now is just counting the weeks and hoping that the NFL draft gets underway. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that turning point of that game was that play calling when the ball, after that big completion to N'Keal Harry for 49 yards, the Bears looked like they were in prime position to put some more points up just when Green Bay had gotten close there, and they go conservative. I mean, first of all, they didn't run Justin Fields, which whatever, it is what it is, but the 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, and they take the ball out of his hands. Like, let this, burgeoning star, a future All-Pro in the making, let him take over the game, let him do his thing here. And they went conservative. And this is one of the things why I don't like defensive-minded head coaches. They're always by nature just freaking conservative, and they always play the safe way. And then obviously, he did that. I don't know if, again, I'm assuming, if Getsy wanted to go for it, obviously Eberflus as head coach can override him. I'm assuming that came from the head coach to go for the conservative approach there. Hopefully they'll ask him that, and we'll bring it up in the post game here. But right there, obviously you go conservative. The field goal is blocked. The Packers just drive down a football field on a long drive, take over the lead there, and then the Bears obviously looks like positive. Justin's bringing them back here. And then St. Brown is late getting out of his route. Doesn't stem quick enough. Alexander jumps the route and picks him off. So that's the first of 2 interceptions for Justin. Obviously 3 turnovers to none for the Packers. The Bears are not good enough, even though Green Bay's been struggling. The Bears were not good enough to overcome something like that, a 3-0 deficit in terms of the turnover column. So it just a young team that kept them in there. Secondary kept them in there in the first half. And then it just looked like Aaron Rodgers just kind of woke up in the second half and he took over. And a couple Bears mistakes on offense. And then, of course, the conservative play calling, I think, really doomed the Bears today. And for those who are rooting for high draft picks, you got your wish.
Exactly. Well, I was rooting for a win and a high draft pick, but you can't have everything in life. Tyler Ellis is joining us here. Tyler, Danny just gave his opening thoughts and talked about what transpired in the game. I mentioned that Luke Getsy perhaps should be called Luke No Gutsy, because he really, took a very conservative approach, and Danny confirmed that my opinion there. Took a very conservative approach with the play calling and taking the ball out of Justin Fields' hands. I mean, Justin Fields finishes the game 20 out of 25 for 254 yards. He had the 2 interceptions late in the game, which, you could say those are desperation throws and stuff. Would love to see him finish games stronger, but it's those 2 interceptions. I'm not going to hold that against him, but he does have to turn that around. Tyler, your thoughts, please.
I mean, I agree with Danny. I think the Bears front office. This goes back to that guy's statement a couple of weeks ago. Are we doing it on purpose? Because it's just very, very funny that we're so aggressive in the first half, and we have opportunity to play a complete game. Gentlemen, we were winning the entire game. We're normally fighting from behind against the Packers all the time, but we allow them to take the momentum shift. And to Justin, I think this is going to be one of those great games for tape, because when he goes back and just looks at himself, he'll be able to see he gave some of those defenders time to get back in position when he kept just like delaying the pass a little bit. And so my initial thoughts is like, damn, we almost had him. I hate the Packers, bro. Like, I really wanted us to like win this game, but it sucks. But at the same time, hey, yo, we still got the number 2 spot.
Yeah, we sure do. Danny, I'd love for you to talk about this defense because, while there was some questionable play calling going on the other side too, with the Green Bay Packers, I was surprised at how conservative they were, and that the fact that they weren't testing this inexperienced secondary more often. And then when they did late in the game, they were successful. But I would love for you to comment, Danny, on these young players that populated the secondary today with 3 of the 4 starters out. I thought they played heroically. The results weren't great, but they weren't bad, were they?
No, they weren't. And like I said, they kept them in the game for most of that first half and most of the third quarter, if you will. And, guys like Elijah Hicks, the 7th-round pick safety from Cal, made a start today opposite DeAndre Houston-Carson, filling in for Eddie Jackson and Brisker. And I think he played and that touchdown to Christian Watson, he was in position. He just wasn't, he was playing the receiver, not playing the quarterback in the pocket. And he just kind of looked real late. And by the time he kind of realized the ball was coming, the ball was already in the hands of the receiver. So that was a touchdown there. But I think overall he acquitted himself, of course, we'll look at the all 22 and just kind of break everything down. But I mean, just off of first glance, he looked like he was there in terms of run defense. Jalen Jones, the rookie corner, who's done it all year, really. Whenever he's asked to fill in, whether it's for injured Jalen Johnson or today for injured Kindle Vildor, I think he held up his own to him there as well. Josh Blackwell, who's been just primarily a guy on special teams, came in and played nickel corner today, and I think he ended up playing some pretty good snaps there as well. So we saw a guy like Andrew Brown, defensive tackle, picked up off the practice squad from the Arizona Cardinals, I believe. He was there today making, he didn't make any things in terms of like big plays, but he was there. He flashed a couple times, whether he
is for first place in the division.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Whether he moved the quarterback in the pocket or he provided some sort of pressure up in the middle. So, those guys were playing their asses off, to be quite frank. And I think they're out there, putting it all on the line. And that's why I said, I think maybe that might caught Green Bay offensively off the mark in the initial. I thought they thought it might have been an easier time, but they came out there and like I said, they did their best, and just unfortunate that they don't get a victory for their effort. But to me, it's I got excited about seeing some of these young guys making plays out there. And you say what you want to say about the Green Bay offense. It's not what it was past couple of seasons, but they still got playmakers out there. They still got Aaron Rodgers out there, a future Hall of Famer. They still got those 2 beast running backs. Christian Watson's been on a tear in terms of a rookie receiver. So, they kept them in check for that first half or for at least 3 quarters, I would say. And, hats off to those guys, and hopefully we'll see more of them, going down here in the season.
Yeah, Tyler, I was just going to ask you basically what Danny covered here in the last few seconds of him speaking is that, these Packers have been much maligned, but they do have talent. And the young receivers they have on this team, Romeo Doubs didn't play today, but Christian Watson has been on fire. And so when this young secondary in a rivalry game in December shows up with the heart that they did against an Aaron Rodgers-led offense with promising players at the wide receiver and proven veterans at the running back position and tight end position, pretty damn impressive, right?
I mean, I don't. I'm kind of split because Aaron Rodgers, they where the Packers are at right now, they have like playoff Super Bowl aspirations. Like this is they let they parted ways with Devontae Adams. Aaron Rodgers came back because we were going to get it done this year, and they faced some adversity early on because they weren't on rhythm. That being said, hats off to our young defense, our torn apart defense for holding their own against this playoff. This team was picked all first weeks of the season to win the division, hands down, to make a deep run. Like these are the same wide receivers that they said they were comfortable with their first 5 weeks of the season, that they were going to go all the way. And so I like Watson. This is like his 3rd game in a row with over 3-4 games in a row with 2 touchdowns. I think our DBs got lost towards the end of the game, Aldo. And so it is impressive. AJ Dillon, Jones, we know they're great. I feel like the Packers were ripe for the picking. This was a game that we could win. But it all being said, like, our front seven isn't what it used to be in terms of creating pressure. You give any Hall of Famer time, he's gonna dial you up at some point in time. And so it was a good fought game. Sometimes you just want to win ugly. But in terms of like Watson and these guys, like the Packers knew what they were doing. Like they did this. And this is why I feel like the Bears are coming, because the Bears are trying to find themselves and the Packers have built this. Like, I want to say in terms of a rebuild, the Packers may be a year or two ahead of the Bears, because if you just go by the Packers' last couple of draft picks, these were the wide receivers they picked. They got high defensive picks. And so I'm actually excited. I'm more excited about the future of the Chicago Bears, because the Packers, they stole this damn game out though in the second half, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, and I'm on record as saying, I really wanted them to win this game. I was passionate about it, but at the same time, I know where we are in terms of the rebuild. We just don't have the talent. Now, we could, go back and say we should have won this game, even with the talent, and I won't argue with you. But, we could have easily have won this game if this team had more talent, which hopefully Ryan Poles is going to accomplish that goal through the draft and through free agency, and bringing in quality talent that's going to make big plays when we need big plays done.
I mean, guys, with a banged up secondary, with two rookies starting, making their first career start, they only held Aaron Rodgers to 185 yards passing. And then that to me is yeoman's work for a young team. So, especially with no front four providing any sort of pass rush at Aaron Rodgers whatsoever, minus like a blitz here and there, maybe a couple of times where they actually made him move his feet. But I mean, just to me, that's some yeoman man's work. That I just hope, wish they had got W just to kind of for their effort. But
and with the point you just made, Aldo, about how the defense held them everything. But let's go back to the initial question. Our play caller went to more conservative. So if we have more talent, what's to say that Getsy doesn't do this again? Because I felt like we had them. Once they figured this out, they got in rhythm towards the end of the second quarter and maybe midway through the third quarter. But you could probably put those interceptions that Justin had. But like Getsy, the players are the player. We finally dialed up something to the Kill Harry. That play was like, finally, okay. Aldo, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Throw it, throw it. It's the law of averages. You got to give a guy a shot to find out what he can do for you. And so at the end of the day, when we saw him go away from the aggressive play calls, it allowed the Packers to get their thing together, because the Packers are running their same. They're running their same stuff. They're not doing anything new. We're the ones learning something new. And so, like, that being said, I just feel like if we would have stayed aggressive, we could have won the game. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. And Danny, J2K is saying you got to give credit to Alan Williams, to get that young secondary going. And I agree. And the position coaches all deserve credit too. But let's get back to Luke Getsy. I mean, do you think he's under orders? Play conservative. And they called just one or zero Justin Fields run plays in the second half. I thought that was not a plan to win.
I believe the official count was 2 Justin Fields design runs after the halftime. So,
okay.
For me, it's not. I don't think Luke Getsy's been conservative throughout the season. Now, that's why at today's juncture and at that point in the game, if that's why I feel like maybe that came from Eberflus. Maybe he just said, you know what, let's play conservative here. We've got the field goal. Let's get up, more than a field goal here. Make them score a touchdown. I think that's. I'm curious to see if that comes out here in a post game, because for the most part, he's just let Getsy run the offense, and he, but of course, him being the head coach, he has final say. So I'm curious to see. But overall, I think Getsy's done a solid job in terms of getting this offense built, especially after that Week 6 debacle versus Washington. You rebuilt this whole offense, revamped it around Justin Fields, and I think for him to go conservative in that time where you can, if you score a touchdown, you could pretty much put away the Packers most likely. Obviously there's plenty of time left in the game, but I think that right there was just a big turning point there. Once Creepig, blocked the kick and they got the ball back and scored, I think it was downhill from there.
Overall, the rushing attack came up with 155 yards, although 71 of those yards were to Justin Fields. David Montgomery official stats, 14 carries, 61 yards. Darrington Evans, 3 carries, 21 yards. And then there were those two running plays by receivers, St. Brown and Jones, and each of them had just 1 yard. It seemed like the trick plays weren't working, jet sweeps weren't working. But the running attack was working. But when you call 17 plays to your two running backs, your starter and his backup, it does seem a little strange to me. What do you guys think about the play calling? Starting with you, Tyler.
I mean, they what the coaches are going to say is this was their game plan. They scripted out this week. I actually like the burst in Evans. He showed some good burst, especially on those 3rd and longs. That was really cool to see. It sucks that we don't get to see this stuff when somebody gets hurt. That and Herbert, but it's just what we've seen Justin do over the past couple of weeks is really just like take control of a game, and it just seems like. I'm kind of torn. I'm torn because it's okay if you're winning. I expected us to win. But when you lose, now you're looking at all the things that we could have done differently. But it was like Montgomery in the red zone. I just feel like just give the ball to Montgomery or have Justin, let's throw a touchdown. Like that's where I'm at with it. I don't like being cute when we're trying to win a game against a team that we haven't beaten in a couple years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Danny, your thoughts about
just giving the ball, to Justin in terms of that specific, play calling segment of the game, if you want to call it, is just, even if you're going to use Montgomery, that's fine. Use Montgomery, but it just, there was no creativity. It was just more so like smash. We're going to run it up the gut here and trying to get you, to allow us to score a touchdown here. That to me, it was like, that's now where you have a weapon in a backfield at quarterback where you could utilize his feet, utilize his legs, roll him out and tell him, hey, you know what? If you don't see anything, throw it away. But I would give him an opportunity to make a play. And how many times we've seen today, even today when he was injured, and that's another thing we have to keep in mind, maybe because of the injury, maybe he aggravated something in that first or second quarter we don't know about. So I'm just playing devil's advocate here in terms of why they went so conservative. But assuming he wasn't injured, assuming he was good the way through, you have to give him a chance to make a play. This kid has got the natural instincts when things break down that he can find something to do here with the ball in his hands. And a couple of things I did like about Justin today, some of the things if you guys noticed, is instead of tucking and running with the ball, there's a couple times like he had an opening, but he kind of stopped, took a step back, make sure he was behind the line of scrimmage, and then found Cole Kmet on that left sideline there for a nice big, first down game. So that's progress. That's him knowing, hey, you know what? Keep your eyes down on a football field, go through a progression, go through the entire football field. Don't just tuck it and run. And I think that might be coming with the fact that he's getting more comfortable with the offensive line, with some of the blocking and maybe even the offense. Right. So I think that's a positive we got to look at, but just staying there right there, the way that he was making plays today in the pocket, even when you asked him to roll a little bit, he was making plays. He was making good decisions, albeit again, those 2 interceptions, that last one might've been him holding on to the ball too long. That first one, I think it was all St. Brown didn't come back to the football quick enough. He didn't stem his route and come back, and then Alexander just jumped the route. But he was making good decisions with the football today, and I would have given him a shot. Just again, part of the growing process, right? Here is your young quarterback. Give him a shot and make a play here, and you potentially could put this game, in the W column if you get a score there, a touchdown.
Tyler, do you agree with Chubbs when he says Justin Herbert is really the number 1 running back on this team? And he says David Montgomery has no explosion. That's his problem. He's not fast enough. By the time he gets to the hole, it's either closed or he gets caught from behind after 7 yards. What are your thoughts on what Chubbs is saying?
I disagree with the first part that he said, that Herbert is the number 1. I agree with the second part because I have noticed that myself. It actually is very frustrating. It seemed Cedric Benson used to do this. He used to do like a little skip before he would take off. I absolutely wish Montgomery would hit the hole with full speed. That is it is kind of nerve-wracking. Herbert, people always say that. You're the number 1 until you think you're the number 1. They thought the same thing about Darnell Mooney when Allen Robinson left. And so it's not that cute because Herbert can't handle the same kind of load that Montgomery can handle with the hits and all those things like that. So we got to be careful what you ask for. Mm-hmm. But you're not wrong. It is frustrating when Montgomery kind of like he comes out slow, trying to wait for things to develop, and rather than just going when you can get a quick 4 or 5 yards rather than just like one or two. And so I have noticed that, Chubbs, I'm with you with that frustration. But Herbert, the number one, absolutely not, just because it's a change of pace. Because there's the defense is used to Montgomery. Herbert comes in with a flash of speed. But Montgomery used to do the same thing for us when his first year. And so I don't know if it's business decisions, Aldo, but I wish the running back coach would tell him, hey, hit the hole. Like, stop skipping through. That is frustrating to me, too.
For me, guys, Herbert just fits this blocking scheme better right now. I mean, his cutback ability, his vision on to be able to see that cutback lane, to plant his foot and quickly just go up back. That backside lane there is what makes him look better in his offense right now. But to me, I mean, I'm a big David Montgomery fan. I'm not gonna knock the kid. I mean, that guy goes out there, gives it his all effort. I like the combination of those two. So, you know, those two, a little thunder and lightning, if you will. But but overall, I think Herbert is a better fit for this zone blocking scheme than Montgomery is right now.
Yeah, my take on it is that maybe Herbert should get the first the starter carries, and so that way he gets a little bit more action than Montgomery. But you got to respect the play of David Montgomery and how he busts tackles and how he takes tacklers for extra yards. You need power backs in pro football. I mean, you don't need them maybe every game. It all depends on how the flow of the game situations and so forth. But if you've got a guy like David Montgomery who can get you when the line of scrimmage is populated with people, he can create contact and take those defenders a yard, 2 yards, 3 yards, 5 yards downfield. You need a guy like that. Now, what if he wants $10 million this season? I'm not going to pay for that, but he's a valuable player to this team.
Plus, don't forget his pass blocking.
Mm-hmm.
His pass blocking. There was a blitz safe of free runner at Justin Fields. He stepped up and he blocked that defender, allowed Justin Fields. I believe it was that play to Cole Kmet I referenced earlier. Get that football off, and so that's something that was very, very underrated. Is Montgomery's ability as a pass blocker back there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then understand, like Montgomery smash mouth style, that softens the defense. So when a guy like Herbert comes in, those guys are already bruised up and maybe a little bit winded. Herbert comes in with fresh legs, ladies and gentlemen. It's a different ball game when you come in the game with fresh legs, and they've already been trying to hold back this monster. David Montgomery bench press squats like damn near 500 pounds. And so they dealing with this guy who refuses to go down, then trying to chase this mighty mouse. Herbert getting 25 carries a game, 30 carries a game, it's a different animal. And so, like, be careful what you ask for. Herbert is very efficiently awesome at 10 to 17 carries a game. And that's where he believes it. That's how you keep him healthy, number one.
I slightly disagree there with you, Tyler. I think if given opportunity, I think Herbert could be, 20, 25 carry guy, but he does need someone else to help him out in the backfield. He can't be just week in, week out, the main ball carrier. I think with a backup or someone that can come in and give him spells, whether it's 9 or 10 carries, here and there. I think if you keep Herbert within, 20 to 25, I think he's good. But yeah, I mean, I do like his potential going in the future though.
I got to tell you, the top running back in this draft, Danny, is remind me
John
of
Robinson from Texas.
Yeah, I've seen him available in third rounds of
he's going in the first round.
That's what I think too.
Yeah,
but what happens because of
will be available in the third round is Roshan Johnson, his teammate.
Okay,
that's a kid that's another guy who's kind of buried behind a star running back at Texas, and Roshan Johnson is a guy that's going to be a pretty damn good back here in the NFL coming up. There's a ton of backs, guys. There's a kid from TCU, Miller, another tough, strong, in between the tackle runner. He's a guy also has pretty good hands out of the backfield too. So there's going to be tons of guys coming out. If you want a little change of pace, a little Darren Sproles, how about Deuce Vaughn from whatchamacallit, K-State? There's tons of backs that are coming out this year that again, the draft is always going to give you guys second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round, sixth round, whatever the case is. You're always going to find backs in the draft.
Yeah. And if they do hold on to the second overall pick of the draft, they could get a bundle of additional draft picks. And so selecting a running back in the third round would not be out of the question if they have 2 or 3 third round picks, which is a distinct possibility the way things are shaping up.
I also would like to go get a fullback, get a real fullback. I'm finally glad that they put blessing game on his ass on the bench today, because he's been one of the most biggest disappointments in terms of as a lead blocker, as a guy that just doesn't do much for me as a blocker. So thank God they finally put him on a bench, and they went with a 3 receiver look today in terms of starting off here today versus the Packers.
Tyler, you've rushed a lot of quarterbacks in your days of playing football. We didn't see a lot of rushing the quarterback by the Bears today. It seemed like Aaron Rodgers would order coffee and then sip on the coffee. I'll rather get a little out over here and stuff. I mean, the Bears pass rush is just non-existent. That's what I saw. What did you see, Tyler?
We saw the same thing. I mean, it was only when we bought a couple extra blitzes, like in the first half, that we see him actually move and shuffle his feet. It's really painful to watch. I mean, I watched Travis and Gibson in college, and he just seemed like if he put on like 10 more pounds of muscle, he just seemed like he's like has a real heart to like get to the quarterback. And so it's kind of weird to not see him win one-on-ones when he gets his opportunity. But once again, it's different when you're the guy. It's different when the defense doesn't have anybody else to scout for. And so as much as we think just because somebody's drafted second round doesn't mean they're a generational talent. Sometimes you got that guy on the upper side who they're actually scheming for, and you're going against their second or third string. And so I'm hoping that we just get some awesome talent to just, because not even saying a guy that does everything. That Seattle Seahawks championship defense, every guy had like 20 snaps a game. And it was a constant pass rush. And so maybe that's what we're going for. That's what I'm hoping for. But Aldo, that front four, we got to get some type of pressure. The fact that we were winning this game without pressure was like it was very like applaud-worthy. And like you guys said, shout out to the positional staff for getting the most out of their play as much as they can. Because we had them on the ropes, in my opinion. They win by 10. This is a team that was picked to win the division, hands down. Hands down, the Packers was to win the division. And we held in there until the fourth quarter, Aldo. And so, once again, I'm trying to see where we're going to go in the draft. If is number 2 too high? If we do trade back, how far is too back without giving up premier talent?
What do you think, Daniel, about what Tyler just said there about trading back and maybe going too low in the first round to pick up an impact player? Because this team needs impact players, you know?
Yeah, and that players at all levels of that defense, you know, whether it's a 3 technique, whether it's a defensive end. For me, I would just wipe clean that whole defensive line, except for Dominic Robinson. Everyone else is gone. Gibson, Jones, all these guys, try-hard guys, they're all gone. I replace all of them. I start off first with free agency to try to get myself with some defensive tackles, and obviously I attack it in the draft. In terms of trading down, obviously we got to see how everything plays out. We got to see all the combine numbers, the testing, and everything, how all-star games, and see who's rising up the draft boards. But one thing I will guarantee you, knowing this league, you know, there's going to be a quarterback or two that's going to jump up into the top 10 that none of us had expected or actually foresaw coming. So I think that's going to drive a lot of the bargaining chip there for Ryan Poles and company, and say, all right, you know, Seattle, you want your quarterback the future. Detroit, do you want your quarterback the future? New Orleans, do you want your quarterback the future? What you going to give me? So that's where I see. I would not drop out of the top 10 if I'm the Bears. If you drop out of the top 5, you're not going to get Jalen Carter. You're not going to get Will Anderson, is most likely. But if you drop out of the top 5, you're in the top 10. You're probably going to look at yourself at an offensive lineman. I don't even see a receiver right now. Again, it's early on. I don't see a receiver worthy of a top 10 right now either. So you're really going to be looking at probably, if you're looking at a position, maybe a linebacker. We'll see how it all breaks down, but maybe another corner. We'll see how it all breaks down, obviously. But I would not drop too far out. I mean, I wouldn't drop down out of. Now, if you get an offer that you just cannot resist, right? 3 first round picks, 2 second round picks, so on and so forth, with some veteran players. Obviously, you got to do what's best for your organization. At that point, you just kind of drop down and see what's available, to wherever you drop down. But if you want that premier talent, whether it's Jalen Carter at 3 technique or possibly a Will Anderson at edge, you're going to have to kind of stay within that top 5 range.
Yep, that is for sure.
I like what you said. I'm hoping we stay within the top 5, but definitely not lower than the top 10.
Again, it depends on what happens, right? Who's going to be jumping up? You know, guys like Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. Even though I'm not too high on both those guys in terms of NFL talent, you know, Will Levis, the kid from Kentucky, and God knows who else is going to be jumping up there in terms of the quarterback. You know, the quarterback thing. You know, at one point we thought, you know, the kid Hooker from Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. You know, not top 10, but he was crawling up that first round. You know, first round area. But he's out unfortunately with the torn ACL, so you know that'll drop him. But you know, players just tend to kind of work their way up, you know, through the All-Star games, through the combine stuff, and guys that you didn't see going in top 10 go top 10, and what happens if other guys drop down. You know, no one thought Justin Fields would be available at number 11. I already thought he was going to go top 5 for sure, and look what happened. He ended up dropping down to the Bears at number 11. So things like that always happen. So we'll see how it all plays out. But for me right now, as of today, you know, December 4th, if I want one of those two defensive guys, you know, the guys that make a difference, I'm not dropping out of the top 5.
409 total yards of offense for the Chicago Bears, 357 for the Green Bay Packers. But the key part of this game is probably two stats: 3 turnovers for the Chicago Bears, 0 for the Green Bay Packers. And then the time of possession was also important because it really seemed that the play calling by Matt LaFleur was in part designed for ball control. The Packers had the ball for 32 minutes and 28 seconds. The Bears 27 minutes and 32 seconds. It seemed to me, Tyler, that the Packers just wanted to hold the ball and keep Justin Fields off the field so that he wouldn't do his magic like he did.
Yeah, and they were right doing so, because as you can see, Justin could change the game, and so it's really, really cool to see his development and like him just getting used to the game, Aldo, because he is an impact player. He can, like, I mean, he's gonna crush Lamar's record. Like, and hopefully, prayers to Lamar Jackson. You guys know he left the game early today, hurt his knee in that first quarter. But and so we don't know what's gonna come for that. And so, but Justin has a chance to really break some records held by Vic and Lamar this year. But at the same time, Justin has become just a good weapon. I know we got the coaches coming up to speak to us soon, so I want to hear what head coach has to say about just development, Aldo. But the Packers very much knew. That's why you saw A.J. Dillon get in. He was just bruising.
You know, and Justin's been ripping that pass pretty, you know, a couple times earlier, and that's a trust throw. You know, when you have a trust throw, that means he's reading it, and man, he's going to let it rip. And you know, the guy's got to do a great job of stepping up, you know, making those plays. And I thought the corner made a nice play. He jumped it. But hopefully our receiver, you know, can help out and, you know, knock that down if possible. But it was unfortunate at that time. And then our defense has got to do a better job stepping up at the very end there. But overall, we had a chance to do it at the end. A lot of good football from our whole group. I told those guys they did a lot of good things today, and we're going to learn from this and go forward from here. But open up the questions from there.
So the first interception, the trust throw.
Yeah.
That's a good throw.
Well, no, it's not. It's not because it's an interception. But I was just saying you got to let that thing rip. You know, he's got to let it rip. We thought that the corner did a good job stepping in front of it. But again, hopefully we can break it up and move it from there. But again, overall, I thought they played good all day to that point. So
You mentioned 4 of your 5 starting to lose out. You traded a couple of your better defensive players this year.
Yeah.
Understanding the situation with your roster, is there still value in learning how?
much time as you can, kick the field goal and go up 2, you know, so, or score a touchdown, you know, but we were right there to get that done, and we'll get that done in the future.
Going back to that trust throw, you said it was not a good throw, but you're glad he, I guess, put it in there. Is it the placement that you didn't like, or just the outcome?
Yeah, just the outcome of it.
What would you like to see EQ do other than try to break that pass up? Is there anything on the route that was?
Yeah, I got to go back and look at it. I just know what kind of concept it was, you know. Obviously, you like him to be able to break it up if he could, but come back to the ball, et cetera. I'll have to go back and look at it. So,
offensively, what's your sense of what's missing in these late game opportunities to go win a game that hasn't been there last week?
Yeah, just I think it's great that we're in the opportunity, you know, to be able to do that, you know, and we made a couple of nice plays to get down there. and we just got to do a better job finishing. You know, it really comes down to execution. I thought the play calling was good. I thought everything was really good. The operation was good. We were on the ball. I thought the tempo of it was nice. The rhythm of it was better than it's been. So I thought the operation was a good part.
What happened with Claypool on the play where he came out because he was hurt? It looked like his knee twisted really badly, but he was able to stay in and play through it.
Yeah. So yeah, they said it was just he hurt his leg. You know, for that point, you know, we didn't. He didn't come out. He came back in, so he squared away on that.
When you guys went to Leatherwood, was that because of injuries or because of performance?
No, Leatherwood is rotation. Yeah, we're going to rotate him in there. So we want to get him some work in there. He had a great week of practice. You know, Riley was out earlier in the week. Getting back, and Leatherwood did a very nice job in there.
With Cairo, what is your? When he misses the extra point, he sounded frustrated about both misses, but the extra point. It's not the first time he's missed one this year. Have you talked to him? What's your level of confidence?
Yeah, I talked to him just to give him support. I was just giving him support. I haven't seen the tape. I don't know exactly what happened there, but I was just being supportive of him going forward from there.
At the end of the first half, you took a timeout right before they ended up scoring. Just curious your philosophy there on what the purpose of the timeout was.
Yeah, just to force their hand. You know, right there, you forced their hand. It's 4th and 4, I think it was. Is that right? So just trying to force their hand and make them make a decision. You know, and it gives us another opportunity for our defense to get set up and what we want to call.
And then you get the long return right after that. When you have 36, 37, something.
Yeah, it was right in there.
Were you tempted to take a shot, or because you were out of timeouts? Was it?
Yeah, I mean, there's really right there with no timeouts. There's not much you can do there, but we just took a knee and took it to half.
Give a sense of what happened on the final touchdown with Watson getting free there that allowed him that.
Yeah, it was that was a jet. You know, the jet sweep. They handed off to him. I'll have to look at the tape on that one. Not sure exactly what the breakdown was. I heard some chatter on the horn there, but we'll see what it is.
Yeah, as the losses pile up and this team continues on this losing streak, what's your message to these guys in terms of trying to keep them mentally and emotionally in the right spot?
Yeah, it's the message that's going to be if we win, lose, or draw every single week. I'm going to tell them the same thing, just like I want to say to you right now. It's get back to work tomorrow. I know we got the bye week. We're going to coaches are going to get to you with 3 things you can get better at, and you're going to look at that during the course of the bye week and come back and then get better. And we'll have our eyes forward moving to Philadelphia.
How do you think you guys played Rodgers throughout the game? And there at the end, what was he able to do that he wasn't able to do earlier?
I thought our game plan was good for the defensive coaches. I thought they did a nice job of putting it together. We looked at, doing some different things, up front. And I thought that really worked well in the run game. Obviously when you give up 48 yards at the end and on a run, on a jet sweep, that doesn't help your stats. I would say they did a good job. We got to finish better.
Were you surprised that they went for 2 at the end?
No. We were ready for them either way.
Something happened on the second one this time where their run game was really quick. 6 yards, 7 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards. What do you think was going on there?
I'm going to have to look at the tape, on it, just for me to get a more accurate view of it.
So that you guys moved the defensive lineman out a little bit.
Say again?
Morrow said you guys moved the defensive lineman out a little bit, though, and allowed them to hit the gaps. Is that true?
Yeah. I'll have to talk to Nick and see what he's talking about there, but yeah.
All right. And Tyler, I know you've got to take off, so I'd love for you to comment on anything that Eberflus said there that piqued your interest, or any final words, brother.
I feel he's so calm, Aldo. He's so calm, and I just feel like it's because the coaches have been given a blank check this year. Like, a coach sounds different when his job is on the line, He's just like, we're losing. We're gonna get better. I'm like, how? Like, tell me what's gonna happen. Yeah. And so I trust the coach though, man. I know he's his first year in the Colts as the defense coordinator. His year 1 to year 2, the defense have improved by 15, 20 spots from year 1 to year 2. And so I am truly looking forward to next season when the wins and losses matter as a coach or a football team, because I think all of our coaching staff should probably be back. They'll probably look at some upgrades. Mm-hmm. But when it's all for real, when your clock starts on your contract, because Ryan Poles, we talk about Matt Eberflus attached to the hip, going together, new product, and so the cool thing about it is we got the quarterback position fixed. That's awesome. That hasn't been done in Chicago for a very, very long time. And so, but what I took away from it, cool. Claypool's not hurt. I was worried that it was a knee. We traded around a 2nd-round pick for that guy. So that's not what we want. We want to make sure our assets are available. That being said, everything else sounds about right. Coach is going to give you stuff to work on. A lot of pleasant talk for a coach that's not worried. A coach that it sounds like a coach who has a whole off season to right the ship. I know he doesn't like to lose, so Aldo, I'm truly looking forward to him coaching this team up during the course of the offseason.
Tyler, you nailed it. I mean, that's a guy who is confident that I don't care what the record is at the end of the year. I mean, for personal reasons, he does, but he knows he's got a job next season with the Chicago Bears. His job is not on the line. This is all kind of pre-planned. They were told, hey, you play the young players and don't worry what your record is. By the 2nd year, we'll have the guys you need, a lot more of the guys you need in order to win football games. Tyler, if you got to go, then we'll say goodbye to you and we'll see you next week. Okay.
Yeah, Aldo. Wish me luck. Guys, take care. I have to go to the gym. I have my first powerlifting competition happening this coming up weekend. So I'll be in Virginia Beach by my first Navy command, and I'm going for some personal records. So I'm really excited about it. It's been like 6 months worth of training and programming taking place. I got to go do this steam routine at the gym to make sure I make weight for weigh-in. But a Bears win because we're still in a good draft position. Aldo, Danny, appreciate you guys. Everybody at the Barroom Network, everybody in the chat, have a great, amazing week, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay, brother. Good luck with the weightlifting.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Danny, when's the last time you hit the gym, brother?
Yesterday.
Look at you. I went a couple years ago. I'm just kidding. All right. Anything Matt Eberflus said there that caught your ear?
Unfortunately, my audio cut off. I only question him about that possession we were talking about, them going conservative. Was that his call? Was it? Oh, that's what I really wanted to know. But so that was my big thing. But in terms of what I mean, he kind of said what I said earlier, right? In terms of St. Brown not running that route correctly. That was a hitch route coming back. He should have come back to the football. At the worst case, he should have knocked that ball out and gotten the ball out of harm's way before Alexander could have picked it up. But in all fairness, Alexander made a great play. He jumped that route, got in front of St. Brown. But my thing with St. Brown is come to the football quickly, get out of your, stem your route, get out of your route quicker and come back to the football. You know what the route count up is. Just, gotta be faster, quicker out of top of your route. So that's the thing right there. So, but yeah, I mean, my thing was I was looking to see what he was going to say about that conservative approach there. That one we touched on here in the opening of the show, because I think that, like I said earlier, was the turning momentum here in this game where, they went conservative, went for the field goal, got blocked. The next thing you know, Packers drove down and took the lead. So, they're going to go into the bye week here. For me, the one thing I did like is I think Justin had the most yards in terms of throwing today in his career. So again, another step forward. Again, the interceptions we discussed at nauseam here, came back and made another huge run play. Maybe he was a little bit more injured than we thought, but if that's the case, why 3rd and short? You do a quarterback sneak, right? So the reason I'm saying that is because, here comes Justin now.
Justin is at the podium. Let's go to him right now.
Started, so felt good.
Overall, physically, how are you feeling right now?
Feel all right. Shoulder held up pretty good. On Demo's touchdown, I had to push Kenny Clark down. So that's the only play that I got aggravated on, and then kind of messed up my hand 2nd quarter. I think it was before halftime, or it was either 2nd quarter or early 3rd quarter. But yeah, I'm good though.
Did you get a painkiller shot before the game, or did you just?
Nah, I just played. Yeah.
On that touchdown run, what did you see as they kind of tried to hem you inside and then you made your cut?
Yeah, I mean, that DN just crashed crazy. They brought nickel pressure on that. So, I mean, it was just me and the nickel. And then, by that time, guys did a great job downfield blocking. And, we scored a touchdown. So, yeah.
So you thought you were moving slow. What do you mean by that?
I just felt like I was moving slower than my top speed. But I don't know. I got to check the GPS on that and see how fast I was moving. So, we'll see.
They said you were over 20 miles an hour on the road.
Oh, really? Yeah. I like to hit 21, 21.5, something like that. So, I got to do some extra sprints or something.
Just got the first interception. Can you just walk us through that play?
Yeah, just a dig route. I think 23 made a great play on that play. He was underneath him, but I mean, at that point, once you throw that ball, you anticipate the throw, and then boom, he jumped it. And then really at that point, you just like to see the receiver, come back to the ball. We always just try to tell the receivers that, those DBs are gonna, they want that pick each and every time, so they're gonna attack that ball. So yeah, that's just a timing throw, anticipated throw, and I think 23 just made a good play on that.
Justin, what was winning a game late do for this young group? We realize, kind of the roster, we've got a bunch of young guys. Some of the best players are hurt or traded.
For sure.
What would learning how to win accomplish at this level for a lot of the younger guys?
It'll be fun. We haven't had that feeling in a minute. So, just winning the game would be awesome. Just to seeing the guys' faces and just the feeling of winning. It's none like it. So, yeah.
Is it part of the developmental process, though, to figure that out?
Yeah. I mean, the wins are going to start coming. I thought as an offense we got better today. So, I just can't wait till they start coming. They're going to start rolling in here soon. So, just got to keep working, keep getting better.
What did you like about the offense?
I think the O-line did a great job protecting. I think the run game was solid, and I think the passing game, really took a big step today. So, I just felt comfortable out there, going to progression stuff like that. Again, like I said, the O-line did a great job in, pass pro.
So Matt mentioned one of the throw you hit the call that was kind of you climbed up the pocket and saw him and hit him for 24 yards. What did you see on that play, and what did you like about that particular sequence?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 3rd and long on that play, and of course we had a good amount of time. Thanks to the O-line, and just stepped up, going through my reads, and kind of just saw him laid on the sideline, just chilling over there by himself. So got that ball out, and we were able to convert the 3rd down. So yeah.
The one in the keel, what did you see on that? That was obviously a scramble drill play here. How did you go with it?
Yeah, so I was trying to throw a hitch to him. 23 again, he was sitting on it, trying to jump it. But so I moved on to the second read, and he kind of got jammed up, and then I felt pressure from my left, so it spins out. Saw Nikhil running, beating him. And at that point, I already knew it was a catch because, I mean, he's probably one of the best jump ball guys that we have on our team. So at that point, I threw it up, and of course, he made a hell of a catch, and it was a great play.
Do you feel like this was your most complete game to date? Because obviously you're running for a touchdown, you're throwing the 50-50 ball, the tight window throw, putting it all together. Was this your most complete game?
I think so. I think this was my one of my best games passing wise. I mean, of course, the stats are going to show that, but I felt really comfortable out there, in the passing game, and just kind of keep improving and keep getting better.
You slid after a 9-yard gain instead of usually you're fighting for extra yards. Was that a concerted effort to get down, protect yourself?
Yeah, I'm not about to do that. My shoulder, no sir, not about to do that today. But and I thought I had the 1st down, but the quarterback rules, I guess, restart the slide or whatever. So yeah, but if I think I can score, I'm gonna on that touchdown run, then I'm gonna take a chance on that. But I didn't think I had a chance to score on that. So yeah.
Justin, after the throw to the keel, you guys had 3 runs. How frustrating was it to not be able to parlay that into another big play to get 6?
I mean, yeah, we just got to execute better as an offense. We trust the O-line to call that, run on 3rd down. So we just got to execute it. I don't think the running back did the completely right track. Of course, he hit the right hole, but I think he just has to hit that harder. And, as an offense, we just have to execute better.
In terms of how your body's feeling, would you have played today regardless of opponent?
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the bye week, next week. Yeah, for sure.
What about another Packers loss? How does that drive you? You've been in rivalry games before, you know what it means. So how does it drive you?
I mean, every game drives me. Of course, this one means more, but I mean, I want to win every game. It's that simple.
Just on my second comment was before practice on Wednesday. You had 3 days there. What did you do in those 3 days to get yourself over the hump, get yourself clear, get yourself ready, feeling like you were ready to roll?
I knew I was playing on Wednesday, so yeah. It wasn't a build up. I just knew I was already playing on Wednesday. So yeah.
Did you have to test out pregame? Were you wearing any sort of apparatus? It looked like there was maybe a pad or a shield.
Yeah, I just put it on a shirt and just put on an extra little pad to cover my shoulder, just to protect it to see if I had any hits on it. So it was just extra padding on there.
So was that you wore that during the game?
Yeah, not during warm up, so just during the game.
Justin, did you find yourself handing it off more often than you might keep it?
Yeah, so teams are starting to mesh charge. And of course, they don't want me keeping the ball on the, we read the DNs on read options. So, I mean, if they're not going to do that, I'm going to just take one guy out of the box and, let our running back eat. But, but they're for sure mesh charging or, having an extra guy over there for me.
When you say this was
when you said this was the most comfortable you felt passing, what specifically felt right to you?
I just, I don't know. I just felt comfortable. I don't know what it was. I just felt comfortable. Appreciate it.
Gotta tell you, Danny, that Justin Fields to me seemed like a guy that really learned a little bit from what's his name? The guy. Yes. Don't you get that impression that he saw how Simeon would hold on to the ball a little bit more, stay in the pocket, and we saw a number of plays where Fields was very patient in the pocket, and then throwing the ball up for the big wide receivers EQ and Harry. That's something that we had not seen as much as we'd like.
4 wins, damn it, not 3. The Duke.
Wait a minute, who the hell was that? Anyway, it just seemed like he was, the couple of things that Simeon did last week, he replicated it, but even better.
Well, one of the things that I've been harping on here, although maybe he's watching this post-game show on his way home. We listen to the podcast, because I'm saying if you got one-on-one coverage, whether it's Darnell Mooney and N'Keal Harry, even Chase Claypool, you got one-on-one coverage, throw the ball up there and let those guys go up and make a play. And I think that's a key point. He just pointed out there in that press conference and said N'Keal Harry is one of the better, jump ball, 50-50, kind of receivers on the team. So if that's the case, just give him a shot, let him go up and make a play. Like today, he went up there, he made a play. So I think, that's something that he progressed at there as well. And what we talked about last week, although in terms of what Simeon was doing that first half versus the Jets, was anticipatory throws, throwing to a spot, throwing guys open, at least in that first half, and he was doing it. And that's what maybe he picked up with Simeon, because right now he talked about that interception to St. Brown. That was an anticipation throw. That was where he anticipated where St. Brown was going to be post, stemming his route, coming back to the football, and he threw it to a spot, and St. Brown just unfortunately wasn't there in time. And then, like I said, Alexander made a great play with the interception. So, that's things he needs to do to develop, to get to that next stage, because in the NFL, you can't just wait there and see a guy open and throw it to him, right? You got to anticipate guys open. You got to know defensive coverages, know the tendency of the defense, know the offensive play call, and then you and the receiver have to be on the same page there. And that's why it's so key when they say chemistry, building chemistry with your receiving core, because now you guys can see things the same way, the same pattern, same level, that you guys see a defender playing inside leverage. Now, if you're a slot receiver, you might have an opportunity at a corner route. You and your receiver have to be on the same leverage. And what you do is you throw the ball, throw it to a spot, and let your receiver, get there. And I think that's what he learned. If you learn anything from Trevor Simeon, is just be anticipatory, be ready to throw the ball to a spot and trust your guys. Today we saw he trusted N'Keal Harry to make a play. He made a play. He trusted St. Brown to make a play. Unfortunately, he didn't make a play for him. So, these are part of the process that he's going to learn. Eventually, once the talent gets better around him, he's going to get, more and more comfortable with trusting guys. Aaron Rodgers was notorious for just throwing the football 1 step, 2 step, bam, ball is gone. Devontae Adams is still, lockstep with the corner in his hip pocket, but he throws it to a spot and anticipates where Devontae is going to be in his route progression, throws it to a back shoulder, bam, Devontae turns around, Adams turns around, ball's in his hands, defender's right there in coverage, but he can't make a play. So that type of chemistry eventually is going to go ahead and develop between, whether it's Mooney. I think it's already developed with Kmet. I mean, you saw that third down play where he kind of tucked the ball, was going to run, tucked it, stepped back behind the line of scrimmage, make sure he's behind the line of scrimmage, and found Kmet and threw it. I think him and Kmet are building that chemistry. I think him and Mooney were building the chemistry. Hopefully it continues with Claypool. And N'Keal Harry hasn't made a big impact, but I think he's a guy I would like to see go back next year and just give him an opportunity to see what he could do when you give Justin Fields another offseason with him, when you give him hopefully a better blocking offensive line where he can just drop back, sit back in the pocket and be able to, go through a progression and maybe get him some opportunities on the field. So again, he's not an explosive guy in terms of guys going to, run a 4-3, run by corners or a guy that's going to, create huge separation. But N'Keal Harry is a guy, a big body guy who Justin Fields just said is probably one of the better jump ball 50-50 receivers on his team. So, we'll see how this develops. But this, again, I agree with Fields in terms of today the offense took a progression because I think he did look more comfortable. I touched on it a little bit earlier in the show here. He looked more comfortable in the offense. He put up the highest in terms of his yardage so far to date. I think 254 yards is what he threw for today. That continues to happen. It continues to progress. I think once they rectify the issues on defense, once they get, like I said, some more weapons on offense, I think this is what you're going to see. The offense is kind of gradually take off, probably going into next season.
The other thing that really struck me about Justin Fields' press conference is how he came off. He wasn't sad like he usually is after a game. He felt he was exuding confidence. He was exuding something like a pleasure, because he had, by his own admission, his best passing game. Didn't get the results, didn't get the touchdown passes like we want. But 250 plus yards of passing was a big accomplishment for him, and he kind of showed that off in the press conference. Am I reading too much into that, or do you think, like I do, that this was a confidence building effort by Justin Fields today?
I think we've seen, and maybe you guys agree with me or don't agree, but I think once he started putting up points offensively, I think he kind of felt like, you know what, we're getting there. We're helping. We're doing our share of the load here. Because remember that first 6 weeks, the defense was pretty good in terms of points allowed. I think they're top 5 in terms of one of the best defense in terms of not allowing points scored. But the offense wasn't doing anything. The offense wasn't putting up any points. And I think he took that burden upon himself, saying, you know what, as a leader of the offense, I'm not doing my job, and my unit isn't doing their job to help support our defense. But I think now it's kind of flipped. Now with the trades, with some of the injuries, I think, they're putting up or close to, 30 points a game. Obviously today they only put up, 19, but they're putting up to this point 30 points a game with Justin Fields back there. And I think he felt like, you're right, we're doing our part now. I understand what's going on defense. I know we traded 2 of our best players. I know we have got injuries galore in the secondary. We're just gonna have to get used to this and just grind it out. But I think now he's getting comfortable with the offense. I know now he thinks. I think I know that he thinks that he can do his part and the offense can do their part to help this team win. It's just a matter of now getting a collective effort, special teams, defense, so on and so forth. So I think some of that burden's off his shoulders. I think now he's just kind of waiting for everything to kind of come together here. That's how I read it.
Danny, I got like a billion questions for you, so I'm glad we've got a Bare Truth coming up soon so that we could talk more in depth on this. We'll go another 15, 20 minutes here. But one of the many questions that I have is Cairo Santos today on that missed field goal, big important miss late in the game. Boy, it seemed to me like he almost hesitated in his streak, that he approached the ball without the normal oomph, without the aggression or however you want to call it. Did it seem that way to you, or was I seeing things?
Well, initially once he came back from his injury, I was like, he missed an extra point here and there, and maybe a field goal, and I'm like, all right, let's not worry too much about Cairo Santos. But now I'm not concerned, but I am a little bit. He missed the extra point today. He missed that, got that field goal blocked. The one thing though, the winds were gusting today. We saw the flag pole. The flag was wrapped around the pole. I think it was, if you were looking at the TV it was going from right to left. So, and that extra point, it kind of looked like it was just, the mechanics weren't there. It was a low snap. So I don't want to give him excuses, but at this point, it is a bit of a concern, right? I'm not overly concerned. I'm not saying go bring in the carousel of kickers that we had here a couple of years ago under Matt Nagy. I'm just saying keep an eye on Cairo Santos. He's coming back from an issue. Was that I forgot? Was that a personal issue or was that an injury he missed that 1 week? I forgot. I don't know if you remember.
I think it was a personal issue that he missed.
Since he came back from that, he hasn't been the automatic Cairo Santos that we've been accustomed to, right? So that's something to just keep an eye on. Let's see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, that is at some point, if he continues missing extra points and field goals, that will be a concern that you have to probably hopefully, address in the offseason. But again, I don't want to go that far. But yeah, it is something that it's no longer automatic with Cairo Santos now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they found a pretty good punter in he was undrafted, or was he seventh rounder? Yeah, found a good one there. So hopefully they can find somebody to bring into camp who, at the very least, can compete against.
Right. I'm not throwing Cairo Santos off the boat just yet. I want him to just kind of bring in competition and let him kind of sweat it out next camp.
Indeed. As you look at this team right now. One of the things that I want to talk in depth about this over the coming weeks is in terms of position value. Right now, I see the 3-tech defensive line position as being a little bit more important than an edge pass rusher, and we need both. Let me underline that. We definitely need both. But right now, I think for this defense to really work the way it's designed to work, don't we need a 3-tech as a higher priority?
Yes, I'm 100% lockstep with you because of the fact we've said before, even if you have two great outside pass rushers, and we've seen it with multiple defenses, right? They have some good speed guys on the front, but interior, if the edge is coming out, the quarterback's going to step up into the pocket if there's nothing there in front of them in terms of pressure. Where it struggles, where the great struggle, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, when you get pressure in their face, and that happens at the defensive tackle position. Now, once you have a complete, ass-kicking defensive line, is when you have a defensive tackle that collapses the pocket, and then you have the edge guys coming from the outside. That's where you kind of stem that quarterback in the pocket, and they're screwed, right? So that's why, for me, and especially for this defense, this 4-3 defense, going back to the days of Lovie Smith in terms of Tommy Harris, when they got Tommy Harris, that's when this defense started going forward. And then they ended up getting Adewale Ogunleye and Julius Peppers eventually. So that's what, but that three technique, being able to collapse that pocket, getting pressure up front, in the middle, in the face of the quarterback, is what's key. So, I think once they get that straightened out, whether it's free agency or the draft, then you can go and get some of the outside guys. And again, with edge rushers, I'm not saying they grow from trees. I'm not saying go get a great pass rusher here and there. But what you could do is you could get a guy, a college guy that's not fully developed, a Dominic Robinson, for example, and you just make him a situational pass rusher. You bring him in, or like one of these outside linebackers that generally are not built to put their hand in the ground, be a 4-3 defensive end, but have that great first step, have that bend around the corner, around the edge, and can create some pressure at the quarterback. You can bring those guys in, and those guys can be your third down pass rush specials. They could be your, passing downs, edge guys as well. So, there's different ways you can kind of generate pressure off the edge. Obviously, you want an ass-kicking defensive end. You want a Nick Bosa. You want a Joey Bosa coming off and rushing, or a Khalil Mack in his prime. You want those kind of guys. But if you're going to go get a guy right now, my priority, like you said, Aldo, is an interior guy, a guy in the middle that can just collapse that pocket initially, get into gaps quickly, create havoc in the backfield. And now you bring guys from the outside. And next thing you know, you have a defensive line that's continuing bringing pressure on the quarterback.
Discussion in the chat room about what's harder to find, a 3-tech defensive tackle who, and I say, a 3-tech defensive tackle or an outside pass rusher. I say that for this type of defense, the 3-tech is harder to find because it takes a much more athletic defensive tackle than your normal defensive tackles in football.
You're 100% accurate, Aldo. 100% accurate, because you don't need a big guy, a 300-pound guy that's had 8 sacks in college. You need a guy that's got quick twitch fibers, guy that can quickly beat, whether it's hands, it's quickness, it's shiftiness, it's athletic ability, it's a powerful lower half, a guy that can get into the gaps, get past the guards in the center, and create havoc. And this is where the 3 technique in this defense is got to be a quick twitch guy, not just any guy that can play defensive tackle. It's got to be a quick twitch guy. And again, that's the thing, is you got to find. Jalen Carter is the guy out of Georgia, is the hands down, I should say, top defensive tackle coming out. But there's games, in terms of how they utilize him at Georgia, that doesn't really translate well to here at the Bears. At Georgia, they play a lot of, 2-gap, where they kind of have him just take on blockers and play 2 gaps and not really generate that, pass rush up front. I think once you're going to have to take a look at him, you have to say, all right, how does he project in the middle? Now, I think he's got the athletic ability, he's got the size, he's got the genetics, if you will, to be able to play that 3 technique that's shaded over the guard, defensive line position. So I think he'll fit nicely in this defense as well. I mean, they all come in the same shape and size. Look at what they did with Buckner over in the Colts. Eberflus was the defensive coordinator there. He's a more of a taller, angular, more powerful defensive tackle, but he's also got the athletic ability, the twitchiness, if you will, to be able to get into the gap, press your offensive guard or center back into the backfield, or use a swim move or a quick rip move to get back in there and generate pressure on the quarterback. Those are the kind of guys you want to get. And if you look at Buckner at with the Colts, on the Eberflus, you look at some of the guys that are playing for Dallas right now, similar type of guys that quickly can get into the backfield, especially generate pressure up the middle. And I think if we're going right now, if this goes from end of the season to the draft, obviously we have free agency, but if you go from end season to the draft, I think Jalen Carter would be my guy right now ahead of Will Anderson.
Somebody had a comment here. I forgot to save it. I thought I did. But let me see if I can find it real quick. Let me see what J2K has to say. He says that I'm over. You're simplifying it, Aldo. Look at Kaleja Cansey, Zach Pickens, and Thule at USC. Those guys can't play in a 3-4. They will all wait for a 4-3 defenses that uses a 3 tech. What do you think about what J2K is saying there?
Right. So there's guys that are not being utilized in the proper positions, right? So certain college coaches have these players, whether they're big, they're athletic, they're strong, and they play their defensive front. They have their formula. We've seen it with a number of guys that are being misused in college and come to the pros and have better pro careers than they had college careers. It's just what their body type, what they are designed to do, and what they're asked to do. So I think if you bring one of those guys that as long as they have the athletic ability, the quick twitchiness to be able to quickly get off the snap, like I said, penetrate into the gaps, get into the backfield quickly, and generate, not only a pass rush against the quarterback, but also have the awareness to be able to locate the football quickly and identify whether the ball carrier has the football, or if it's a quarterback, if it's an RPO play, who's got the ball. So that a lot of that's instincts and quick eyes and be able to find the ball. There's a lot that goes into making a quality defensive lineman. So I think that's something that we have to kind of, as we go through the draft process, things we'll break down here for you guys here and Draft on Tap, and identify guys specifically made to play in this defensive front.
This kind of a weird question. What do you prefer in a 3 tech? Would you prefer finding someone who has NFL experience, so via free agency, going after a Daron Payne, or would you prefer drafting one a la a Jalen Carter, or perhaps one of the second round type 3 techs available?
For me, well, I mean, right now, guys like Daron Payne and even Javon Hargrove from Philadelphia are guys that are NFL ready, guys that we've seen them play on Sundays, make plays. So obviously those are the preferred guys you want. But also you have to think you have to build a team here. You can't just unload your salary cap money on one side of the football. I mean, we've seen it with the Lovie Smith days where the money was all on defense. You saw it to an extent here with Nagy years, where initially it was a lot on offense, and they kind of just tried to offset some on defense in terms of the cap dollars. So you ideally, obviously, me, I want to go get one in free agency. I want to go get one in the draft as well. Now, if you get one in free agency, you get a Daron Payne, you get a Hargrave. That makes getting a Jalen Carter that less important, because you at least have a NFL veteran that's ready to go for you day one. And then you can always supplement him with some guy in the second or third round of the draft. But for me, like I prefer the veteran that they can come in and know. But if you can't devote that much dollars, because you got to build a whole team. And remember, this team has got holes at every single place, maybe except for quarterback, that you would look for to add some new players in, right? So you got to kind of balance that. That's what makes it, being a GM, so difficult in the league. Is preferably for me, though, to answer your question, Aldo, I want to get one in free agency. I want to get one in the draft as well.
Yeah, I always feel like, man, we brag too much about all the salary cap dollars that we have, but you also got to remember, we've only got like 25 guys signed for 2023. We're going to pay for enough for 90 guys. Now, I know the salary cap only has the 53 highest salaries, but that's still a lot of guys, 32 guys that you got, or 30 some guys that you've got to sign. And so that's going to only leave money. And I'm guessing here, I haven't done the math here, but maybe 2, maybe 3, 15 million plus type signings. And so perhaps you're going to target a Conklin or a McGlinchey at right tackle for $15+ million a year. Perhaps Daron Payne, Spotrac says that his salary estimated market value is close to $20 million. And so between those two guys, you got $35 million a year invested. So a lot of those cap dollars start eating up pretty quickly.
Right. And then, like I said, we have to have a complete roster to fill here. So not only are you going to have to be smart with your dollars in terms of strategically attacking positions that you feel like you're better off getting a free agency, securing it with a veteran, as opposed to going into the draft and maybe, getting at the point of where you're going to be selecting, if not in the first round, say in the second round, do I get the 5th or 4th best right tackle? Or do I pay a little bit extra money and get this veteran to come in here? So, a couple of the guys you named there, McGlinchey and Conklin, are guys that are somewhat big names, but they've got an injury back, history as well. So you got to kind of weigh that in as well. Do you want to give these guys the money? You did take a chance on Alex Leatherwood. For me, guys, Riley Reif has done a solid job at right tackle. I know he's a veteran, 1-year contract. If you want to bring in Riley Reif and Leatherwood, have him battle for right tackle next year, that's not going to be a popular opinion from a lot of the fans. But I think, that's something that you could live with if you go ahead and fortify the center. Center to me is a huge position. I'm not sure Lucas Patrick can play center in this league anymore. I don't know. I haven't seen him do it. I know he can't play guard, left or right guard. So is he a center? We'll have to wait and see. But are you confident in having him as your starting center next year? So to me, center is a huge position of need. Left guard, with Cody Whitehair, solid veteran, nothing spectacular. He's not great. He's not going to kill you. But can you go out and improve over Cody Whitehair? So those are positions that I'm looking for at guard, and specifically a right and center and a right tackle. So we'll see how that goes. But those could be positions you might address in the draft, and might say, we're going to go attack free agency in a defensive line. Whether it's, we talked about Deron Payne, well, that's a guy everyone wants. There's also the Hargrove from Philadelphia. An under the radar guy is Sheldon Rankins from the Jets. Unfortunately, he gets hurt a lot, but he's another guy that's got that build, the quickness to be able to play some three techniques. So if you can get him on a veteran deal, maybe not as much money as the other guys, and bring him in here and then supplement him with a draft pick, that's another way you could attack it. There's multiple different ways you can get better here. And of course, we haven't talked about getting a receiver, probably more so that's going to be in the draft. Whether you want to add to the tight end room, or whether you want to go get a draft pick in terms of the running back. There's so many different levels we can attack here, in terms of where there's team needs help. And, and in terms of our free agents, I don't think there's anyone really is going to be breaking the bank in terms of guys that you want to really bring back and re-sign. Maybe Nicholas Moore, but again, not breaking the bank there. This guy you want to bring back as a veteran linebacker, but there's just, if you let him go, you're going to have to get another linebacker now. So there's a ton of needs, ton of question marks on this roster, up and down, except the only question mark that I don't have is at the quarterback position.
Yeah. And I'd love to get your point of view of Greg Gabriel's position. He says he thinks that perhaps we just need one new starter at the offensive line, because he thinks Braxton Jones, just like you think, is the left tackle for the Chicago Bears now and into the future. Left guard, he says we could live with Cody Whitehair one more year under his contract. He still believes in Lucas Patrick. I'm with you. Haven't seen him do it for the Chicago Bears. What I have seen is a guy who's injury prone, and sometimes guys like that start to, and particularly a lot of offensive linemen for the Packers, they start to break down pretty quickly. At right guard, Tevin Jenkins, he says right tackle is perhaps the only position you need to go out there and get a quality starter. Well, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've told you guys before, left tackle with Braxton Jones and Tevin Jenkins at right guard, to me, are locks, right? Like I said, I just talked about Cody Whitehair. I could live with him, but if you want to improve on him, I will have no problem, because he's not a guy that's always consistent in terms of being, great in terms of at the point of contact and all that stuff. Center is a huge question mark. Center is a huge question mark for me. And then right tackle. Right tackle, if you tell me you're going to bring back Riley Reid for another one-year contract and have Alex Leatherwood compete with him at right tackle, you know what? I wouldn't be opposed to that. Okay. And you still have guys like Larry Barroom and some of the other young guys that are Jatir Carter that can also come in and give you some depth. So, the offensive line might not be as bad as we think it is overall, but there definitely is some tweaking here and there. But for sure, going into next season, I have the right guard and the left tackle that I want, starting there for me. Now I just got to make sure I fill up all the other question marks along the offensive line.
There you go. I got to give you an opportunity to talk about your guy, because you always are praising this guy, and he deserves more praise after today's performance. DeAndre
Houston Carson. Yep.
When is this guy going to get, a break and become a regular starter? Because it seems to me that he's always making big plays. It seems to me that he seems to have a leadership gravitas in that defensive backfield. If Eddie Jackson, for some reasons injury is too serious, we might be, if DeAndre Houston Carson has to be our free safety, would we be bad off?
No, I mean, I think whenever he's been put in a position to make plays, he makes plays, right? Whether it's on special teams, whether on defense. Now, is he the greatest athlete? Is he the best safety? He's not that, but he's a veteran presence. He's a guy that today took two starting rookies, basically, and kind of guided this team and held, for 3 quarters, the Green Bay Packers offense in check. He helped hold him in check there. So again, he's a guy that another tackle for loss today. Yeah, what tackle for loss last week, and a couple of breast breakups. So I think he's a guy, always gets his 1-year contracts. Is always kind of labeled as a special teams guy. But like I said, if Brisker comes back and DHC is starting opposite of Brisker, I think that's going to be a solid duo. Obviously, I would like to have him signed to a longer term contract, just kind of have him be able to kind of plant his roots here as a Bear and for his future, and that way you have a nice three a combo there with Brisker, Jackson, and DHC. And if God forbid any injuries happen, you have a veteran like DHC to be able to step in too. And Elijah Hicks played solid today too for a guy, again, making his first start as a rookie. So you might have your 4 safeties there already locked up if you're able to get DHC back under contract for next year.
All right. So now next week we've got a bye. And then oh my God. We got the Eagles and the Bills, 2 of probably the top 5 teams in the National Football League. The Detroit Lions won again today. They annihilated the Jacksonville Jaguars, as I predicted pregame on the Mike North Early Bears Special show. And then they've got the Vikings, who might, will have definitely the NFC North clinched by them and may not be playing a lot of their starters that day. So are you thinking, 1-3 the rest of the way?
Yeah, and I think realistically, I think the Minnesota game will be the game that they'll probably end up winning at the season finale there. Like I said, Minnesota's already going to probably clinch the division by next week, most likely. So they'll have that all wrapped up. They're going to be resting their starters for sure, or at least play the starters maybe half of the game or whatnot. And plus, it's here, and we know how. They're not big fans of playing in the outdoors. So, Philadelphia, it's going to be a tough, back-to-back weeks with Philadelphia and Buffalo. Although, you know what, this Bears team, if offensively they can get things, rolling again in terms of getting Justin fully healthy and being able to, go back to being what he was doing in terms of, running the football, getting those multiple carries, they can compete with them, keeping points on the board. I just don't know if defensively they could stop the firepower that both the Eagles and the Bills present there. So that's going to be tough games. Detroit, they might not be playing for anything, but you know what, the Dan Campbells are going to be coming here to trying to bite off. Actually, that's going to be in Detroit, so they're going to be trying to bite off kneecaps and all that stuff that they talk about. So I think that's going to be a tough game. That could be a game the Bears could win. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to lose that game. So Detroit and Minnesota are 2 games that they could possibly go ahead and pull out. But again, if you're the Bears now, if you're down to the last 2 games, and then that could mean picking 2nd or picking 7th, at that point, I'm going to start jumping on the let's score 30 points, but give up 35 and move on to the 2nd pick in the draft. So
excellent. There's another real quick thing that I wanted to ask you, and then we'll pull the plug. I mean, again, I could stay talking to you here for hours, but Jalen Hurts, who's a guy that I fell in love with him in his final year at college and thought that he might be a worthy investment as a 2nd rounder for the Bears. And now 3-4 years later into the NFL, he's playing as a potential MVP candidate. I look at Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts very similarly, except that I think as good, maybe great as Jalen Hurts is, Justin Fields is going to be even greater, right?
Right. So the thing with Jalen Hurts that I had some pause about him in terms of coming out of college at Alabama, he didn't look like he was a guy that get the ball down and field consistently. Went to Oklahoma under Lincoln Riley, had a sensational year, but again, just had some good throws, but the accuracy, the position downfield just wasn't there. With Philadelphia, he came in, he started just doing the running thing, and all of a sudden, they kind of took steam there. Last year in that playoff game against the Buccaneers, he looked horrible in terms of trying to get the ball down a football field. But what he did was, and one thing that you and I saw firsthand in Mobile is Jalen Hurts will work on his game. He will work on his craft. And he's a guy that his dad is a coach. So this guy grew up under a coach. So he's got those instincts, the work ethic, the character, the it factor, if you will, for a quarterback. And he worked on his game. And now you put him behind a terrific offensive line. You put him behind a 1,000-yard running back and 2 receivers on the outside like Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and a tight end before he got hurt like Dallas Goedert. And next thing you know, you have a guy who's an MVP candidate. I watched that game, Philadelphia, last week and against the Packers. And they were running the same plays, guys, that the Bears run with Justin Fields, whether that's quarterback power, the quarterback, pull, all these runs. And Jalen Hurts had 145 yards rushing versus the Green Bay Packers. So, this looks like it's a trend now developing here in the NFL with some of these younger quarterbacks, right? So, if you guys are looking at Jalen Hurts now saying, hey, he's an MVP candidate, but yet a year or two, you guys saying this guy is just a bust, just kind of envision that because Justin in college, he showed the ability to get the ball downfield. When I watched his tape at Ohio State, he showed an ability to throw receivers open. Now, again, he also had great receivers at Ohio State, but his ability to, like I've said before here, go through a cover, go through a read, make plays with his legs, not like he's doing now, but at least escape, make some big first downs, show leadership, show toughness, and again, showing the ability to be a down the field, deep ball thrower. He had one of the better arm talent coming out of that draft in terms of accuracy as well, ball placement. He showed that in college. So that for me, Justin is well ahead of Jalen Hurts coming out of college in terms of as a thrower. Plus the fact that he's a better athlete, I think, over Jalen Hurts. I think that and bigger as well. I think that just kind of leads you to what you can anticipate and you can look forward going forward. And hopefully that's what Ryan Poles and his brain trust kind of envision there with the Bears offense is, hey, let's build an offensive line. We got a solid running attack behind him. Let's get him a couple of receivers on the outside. You may have one with Darnell Mooney, or you may have one with Chase Claypool. Let's get another stud on the outside for him. Let's complement the tight end here with Cole Kmet. And next thing you know, we could have an offense that scores at will. And then all we got to do now is and put all of our money, cap dollars, or a lot of our draft picks into building that defensive line. And next thing, and you already have a secondary, I think. You have a secondary in the making here. So you got to get the defensive line ready. You have a young linebacker, undrafted free agent, Jack Sanborn. You may have another veteran, Nick Morrow. You're bringing a draft pick or two here and there. And you might have a defense that may not be a world beater, but could be, mid to upper tier. And next thing you know, you have a defense or a team now, a whole team that can compete for the division title going forward.
Outstanding work, Danny Shimon. When do you want to do our next Bear Truth? Is that this Wednesday or the following Wednesday after that?
Well, let's see. I know I was going into this week thinking we're going to do a Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins one, but I think you sprung a surprise on me saying you want to do Jack Sanborn. So either one, if you want to, you tell me which one you want to break down, and we'll break them down for you guys.
Well, let's do a quick survey in the chat room. So we said Braxton Jones for sure.
Right, Tevin Jenkins or Jack Sanborn.
Yeah, I think I would love to see Sanborn, and then one of the offensive linemen, and I think Braxton Jones deserves to be highlighted. Everybody knows what we have in Tevin Jenkins. I don't think anyone is disputing the fact that this guy is our current and future right guard. Where I still feel a lot of people are debating is the Braxton Jones at left tackle. So he deserves your attention in bringing down his film. And then let's talk about Jack Sanborn.
There's no debate about Braxton Jones at left tackle. I tweeted it earlier. I know he's gotten in. He's had bad games, but he's a rookie, guys. He's a rookie that came out of Southern Utah, and he's going to hopefully be a 17-game starter at a rookie in the NFL, and he's going to take his lumps, right? Just like we talked about Justin and some of these other rookies, defensive backs taking their lumps. And the one thing with him is a full off season in an NFL weight room. He's got the athletic ability, he's got the length, he's got the quickness, he's got the feet. Take a look at him on these jet sweeps and him leading as a lead blocker on the outside. Athletic guy who can, bury defenders in the open field. Braxton Jones is a guy that just give him some time, let him develop. He is your left tackle of the future. Trust me on this one, Bears fans. And then Tevin Jenkins, he's a guy that came in here. I didn't like the pick in terms of him being a left tackle, but I've always said this guy was made to play on the right side, whether it's guard or tackle. He looks like he's submitted himself at right guard. Had a couple times today where he was kind of laid down on his ass, but it's going to happen versus guys like Kenny Clark, who was an All-Pro last year. So he's got to continue to get better, get over the hump in terms of injuries and get stronger at the point of attack as well. But then tenacity and then nastiness he brings in the run game. Tevin Jenkins, that is, you always see him finishing guys, burying guys, especially when he chips and gets to that second level. So I think those are two bright spots on your offensive line. And like I said, the rest you can kind of fill in there.
Yep. Nomad says Braxton Jones plus the squat press equals Pro Bowl. I remember we went to practice. I think it was this year at Hallis Hall, and it was a year or two ago, and at Family Fest, and you looked at I forgot the player now. I think it was Khalib, and you said, "Look at that body has been transformed. A year after his rookie season, He hit the weights during the offseason, and that body has been transformed. And I think we're going to see something like that with Braxton Jones too. He's going to hit the weights. This guy is dedicated to his craft, and he's going to have a different body and have some more strength and really improve from his rookie season to his second season. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Like I said, I truly believe in him. I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and I hadn't seen him prior to that. To be honest with you, I had not watched a lot of Southern Utah tape. Saw him at the Senior Bowl, saw that size, saw the athletic ability, saw the movement skills. I'm like, all right, there's something here you can build on. Had an up and down week at the Senior Bowl. Bears got him in the 5th round. I think that was a nice find there. And then obviously, I didn't expect him to start right week 1, but then he goes in training camp, and he is the best man for the job. And again, he's had his ups and downs. He's had games where he's got run over by defensive linemen. But again, that's just kind of developing your core strength and just kind of refining your technique. But in terms of athletic ability, the length, the size, what you want, he's got everything you want in left tackle. And I think, just don't give up on him yet, guys. He's a guy that to keep, honing in on there and watch his progress as he goes into year 2 or 3 and so on and so forth.
All right. Everyone who is joining us now live in the chat room, hopefully you can join us on Wednesday night where Danny's Bare Truth will happen. I'll be joining him. We'll have tape to cut down of Braxton Jones and Jack Sanborn, and we'll probably do another couple of those Bare Truth shows before Draft on Tap begins. And we're going to have some new things with Draft on Tap that Danny, Neil, and maybe even Greg Gabriel are finalizing. And it should be another exciting season of evaluating the talent with our Barroom draft experts. Danny, you're the absolute best. You want to give anybody a shout out?
Let's take this next week as a bye. I'll kind of regroup and just kind of retake in what's happened so far this season. We've talked about it. You and I, Aldo, John and I have talked about it. This is a season where, wins and losses are, they you still want them, but it's the progression you want to see. The progression mainly in number 1, that quarterback. And I think we've seen it. I think everyone will agree. Today was a loss. Today there was 2 interceptions, but I think we saw in his assertion in terms of being more comfortable in the offense, making some plays from the pocket, limiting some of the design quarterback runs. And I think we just continue to build on that. So, they had a mini bye week and they came out with that offensive restructuring versus New England. Let's see what they do with the whole bye week. I know Eberflus touched on it here in his post game saying, each player is going to be given 3 things they can improve on. This next 4-game stretch, it's going to be a tough 4-game stretch. We just kind of discussed it real quickly here, but you go in against 3 of the 4 playoff teams right now, right? You go in there and you win 2 out of 2, or you win 3 out of 1, it's not gonna make guys who are wanting a high draft pick happy, but it's going to show improvement. It's going to show this young team, hey, we can compete against some of these best teams in the NFC, and that's going to just give them more confidence as they catapult into the offseason and into the next season.
There you go. Well said, Danny. And tomorrow's schedule here on the Barroom Network, Greg Gabriel and myself are scheduled to go on sometime late morning or early afternoon. And then it's Bears Country Podcast starting at 7 p.m. with Dan Shorty. I'm going to screw up his last name, so I wouldn't even attempt it. Dan, Mr. Shorty, and Dan Aguirre and Cliff Victoria. So we got 2 Bears shows tomorrow and tons more throughout the week, as Danny and I just said, Bare Truth on Wednesday night. So tons of really good afternoon football games going on right now. Let's go check them out. Danny, what do you say?
Sounds good, man.
All right, brother. Great job, and I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.